Well, that didn't take long. Kyle Busch wins in the last race at this configuration at Fontana. Let's talk about it. Coming up next. What is going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, in race number 2 with RCR, Kyle Busch gets the job done. He was the biggest story of last season because where would he go? Would he stay with Gibbs? Would he go? When it ended up all shaken out through all the drama, through all the nooks and turns of that particular story, he ends up with RCR, and when that happened, the camp was split about 50-50. 50% was like he's going to be on the revenge tour with RCR. He's going to be more focused than ever. And then there was another 50% of the camp who I disagreed with, if you've watched any of the live streams, by the way, who said, Kyle Busch is washed up. RCR is mid-equipment. This is the end of his career. That is where he is going to fade away into the sunset and never to be heard of again. And all I can say is, boy, were you guys wrong, huh? Not only were you ignoring what RCR had done recently with Tyler Reddick, I guess you were remembering the Daniel Hemrick and the end of Ryan Newman's tenure at RCR, but man, if you have been paying any attention to RCR here recently, those cars have speed. Tyler Reddick won 3 races last year. Austin Dillon won 1 race. Both of the drivers were in the playoffs. So I'd never understood the camp that thought Kyle Busch going to RCR was somehow going to be some type of failure. But I don't know. Speaking of Tyler Reddick, he currently sits last in points, scoring only 4 points on the season. He had another terrible start to the season. And the only reason I mention that is because that is also going to be a storyline because of those, I guess, fans who thought that Kyle Busch was no longer good or washed up or whatever you want to call it. Tyler Reddick is going to be somebody he's compared to because that is the exact person he is replacing. He's also going to be weighed and measured against Joe Gibbs and Toyota. And in this particular instance, Kyle Busch has drawn first blood. He strikes first in the particular revenge tour. So this is going to be fun to follow. Look, it's a long season. Toyota has plenty of time to answer. Joe Gibbs Racing has plenty of time to answer. And I fully expect Tyler Reddick, who is got potential to be a future superstar in this sport. I fully expect him to also get some wins this season, but it is a fun storyline to watch going forward. That being said, the other big storyline of this particular race, of course, is this is the last configuration, the last race on this configuration of Fontana. It was a great race. The track has aged and weathered. It hasn't been repaved since 1997, and that gave us some great racing, multi-grooves. The cars could pretty much run wherever they wanted to and have plenty of speed. There was tire fall off. But that being said, at some point this thing would have to be repaved anyway, and you know, when mile and a halves get repaved, or even any track gets repaved, right? They basically kind of ruined Bristol with the progressive banking and things like that. So basically when any track gets repaved, there's like a 50-50 chance that they ruin it. So this configuration sent us off with some fond memories in the last couple of races that we got here. So at least we will always have those, and it will be interesting to see the new configuration, which they're saying is going to be a Martinsville hybrid. It's going to be sort of configured like Martinsville, but with more banking, and it will be the short track because they have sold off like a good chunk of the land around here. So it now basically has to be a short track. So it's going to be interesting on the reconfigure of it, but this was definitely a sad time for a lot of people that love this track because this was the last time they will see it, and it will be a story to follow going forward also because will they actually get it done? They said 2025 is the earliest. If you've ever remodeled something, you realize it takes way longer to remodel something than to just tear it down and build a new one. So it's going to be very interesting. They're not tearing anything down and building a new one. They're basically remodeling and making it shorter. So I'm saying 2027, or there's also a good possibility that it never happens. So like I said, this is going to be a very interesting story to follow. Now on to good race, a bad race, good race for Kyle Busch. Of course, he wins the race. Chase Elliott started 33rd, worked his way up, but found some speed about midway through that second stage. He was fast in the first stage too, but he really had a lot of speed in that second stage. They kept tuning on the car, getting it faster and faster. He ends up second. Ross Chastain wins the first 2 stages. Looked like he was pretty much had this in check until, like he said in his post-race interview, Kyle Busch just got faster and faster, and like I said, also Chase Elliott did as well. Daniel Suarez finishes 4th, a 3-4 for Trackhouse. Kevin Harvick, solid day all day today, finishes 5th. Denny Hamlin is 6th, carrying the flag for Toyota there. Brad Keselowski and RFK finish 7th there. Brad Keselowski, after that spin, comes back and gets that 7th place finish. RFK is another one. I mentioned RCR is basically back. RFK is definitely another team that's back. I think we should all be watching them going forward as well. Alex Bowman is 8th. Austin Dillon is 9th. Joey Logano brings it home 10th with that failing, I guess, rotor or whatever he had going on. He had some type of wheel issue. He looked like he had speed. The Penske cars looked like they had speed all day. Ryan Blaney got caught up in a wreck. We'll see that later. But yeah, good finish for Joey Logano. And of mention here, Martin Truex finishes 11th after losing 2 laps to that tire coming off. And Corey LaJoie finishes 14th. He was up there several times. He was in at least 3 incidents. At one point, he was in every caution that was in the race, but Corey LaJoie recovers to finish 14th. So good building blocks for them and Spire. Hopefully Spire can continue to have good results going forward. All right, now let's take a look at the guys who had a bad race. Kyle Larson, of course, never even got going good. He finishes the race 15 laps down in 29th with those electrical problems. Looked like an ECU harness. Christopher Bell had a really good car, but he kept having bad pit stops, and that's been an issue throughout his tenure at Joe Gibbs Racing, to be honest. But he another bad pit stop put him back in the pack, and that caught him up in the wreck. Ryan Preece was having a good run today, but once again, caught up in somebody else's mess. Tyler Reddick, another DNF to start the season. Really bad start for Tyler Reddick, but I do expect him to win a race, like I said earlier. And AJ Allmendinger ends up finishing dead last in basically that bunch up with Corey LaJoie. I forget who stopped in front of him, but he was bunched up by somebody. And not shown quite that far back, but Ryan Blaney had a car capable of winning the race. He got caught up in somebody else's mess, and he was never a factor after that, so bad day for him. Bad day for Penske because I think they had race-winning cars, and like I said, Joey Logano had that rotor or hub or whatever it was that was acting up, and Ryan Blaney got caught up in that wreck, and Austin Cindric got pinched into the fence by somebody. Wasn't quite sure who pinched him. Can't remember it off the top of my head, but the Penske cars definitely had speed, but nothing to show for it on this particular day. Here's a look at your points as they stand right now. Ross Chastain is first, Joey Logano, Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez, Chris Buescher, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Blaney round out your top 12. And then your last few in, Corey LaJoie, 13th, currently in the playoffs right now. Chase Elliott is 14th, Christopher Bell, 15th, and Michael McDowell is 16th. So those right now would be your top 16. Last man looking in right now would be Ty Gibbs, followed by Austin Cindric. And once again, let's look here at the bottom because I found this to be an interesting stat. Tyler Reddick, dead last basically of points for people running the full season. Ty Dillon, who has had engine problems in both races so far, are 37th and 38th. But if you look here at 22nd, Cody Ware is 22nd. He is ahead of Austin Dillon, Kyle Larson, Eric Almirola, Bubba Wallace, Noah Gragson, William Byron, Eric Jones, Ryan Preece, and, whoever, Tyler Reddick, the aforementioned. So definitely early in the season, always fun to look at stats like that. Look at the points early on in the season. There's always some crazy things going on, so it's always fun to look at. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. If you made it this far, feel free to subscribe down below. It helps out the channel a whole lot, and I really appreciate all of them. If you're already subscribed, I appreciate you guys as well. If you got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.